Hashem, oh the Simcha. L'chaim, l'chaim. Erev Tov. L'chaim, l'chaim. Oh, I think there's wine. Is there wine in the fridge? If there's wine in the fridge, definitely bust it out. I think there's. No? Oh, okay. It means it. What does that mean? Somebody drank it. I'm really happy. Yes, I'm so glad to. 1 second. Nicole, Natalie? No, I'm finished. Good. It was 1 second. It was Chaya Bela, Chaya Chanafnina. And Natalie, or was that? Why do I keep thinking Natalie? Erica. Chana Nina. So, no, because there's nuns maybe. I think yeah. Chana Pina. Okay. Chaver, let's learn. I have a Baruch Hashem. We're talking about Yekansu Dvar Necha tonight. I'm going after this year. I'm going to Rishon LeZion to meet with the Yanuka. This Rishon LeZion, the city, yeah. There's a tzaddik there. He's 33 years old. You ever heard of the Yanuka? Oh, I'm going to tonight. Anyway. I'm just in a bit of a rush because I'm going to see somebody of great person. He's everything. Hearing him speak made me feel like our generation has somebody like of the caliber of Lubavitcher Rebbe. Just hear like there's someone there in our door. It really, really is an amazing thing, and you're for sure going to hear more about him as time goes on. His name is Shlomo Yehuda Be'eri, and he's an amazing person. I went to see him speak on Hanukkah. I was very blown away. But the most amazing thing was afterwards, when you're filing by to say hello, he's just a regular guy. Mamish. No air of anything. No, he's just a guy. It really blew my mind how real he just Mamish, just a guy just sitting there. It really blew my mind. Because that's like the simple thing, that I can learn 1 or 2 pages of Talmud in a day, and he can learn 1,000. But that's just how Hashem made him. Like, what's the big deal? Like, it's not a big deal. Actually, we each have a role to play, and that's it. There's no big deal. It really was anyway. I'm B'ezrat Hashem. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get the yeshiva in some way connected to him, and I'm definitely going to tell him about the yeshiva and to daven for everyone that's involved here. And it's mashu. So we're holding in chapter 38 of maharal, chapter 38 of Tiferes Yisrael. We're learning tonight about the mitzvah of lo yelecha Elohim acharim al panai, to have no other gods for me. And maharal begins with a whole discussion. What is the content of this mitzvah? What is the content of this mitzvah? And he gets into an argument with the Ramban. The Ramban says this is a mitzvah on your thoughts, that you should not think to yourself that there's anything else in the world that is there for you to worship. Just not think of that. Not let that come into your mind. And he says, it doesn't seem right because we have a mechilta. Mechilta, there's different kinds of midrash. There's a midrash rabbah that we're used to, or midrash tanchuma that is more story based. And the mechilta, the sifra, the sifri, the Toras Kohanim, these are more legal midrash halacha. There were 2 different styles in the early writing down of the oral Torah. One was going by topic, like by masechet, like by tractate, and one was going by the verses. So Midrash halacha follows the verses, and so it's not organized by topic exactly, just like the Chumash jumps around. And the masechtas are more topic oriented, or they also jump around a little bit too. We can't quite seem to be completely organized in our religion. Chaim. But the Mechilta says about the mitzvah of lo yelecha Elohim acharim al panai. What does this mean? Shelo yekayem shum Elohai. You should not allow any pre-existing God to continue to exist for you. If it means a statue, or if it means a star, it shouldn't continue to be for you that this thing is real. Lo yekayem shum Elohai. Because it doesn't say lo yiyeh. They shouldn't be in your heart. The Ramban, he's arguing against the Ramban. Ramban saying it's a mitzvah in your heart. Maharal says it doesn't make sense that it's a mitzvah just in your heart. It's a mitzvah having to do with how you're living, that you're keeping the idol in your house, or you're remaining connected to some sense of an avodah zarah that pre-existed. Not just that you believe or don't believe in it, but that you're continuing it. You're mekayem, shelo yekayem, shum Eloha. Because if it was just about the decision to believe or not believe, then it should say, Lo yeh bilvavcha Elohim acherim. It shouldn't be in your heart any other gods. And he goes on and on. He has a whole mamish argument with him. And he says, that who's going to listen to the Ramban? He says like this long, this Mi Yishmal HaRamban Neged Divrei HaMechilta Hashnuya B'Feirush. Who's going to believe? Who's going to think the Ramban is right? If you have a Midrash Halacha that came 1,000 years before the Ramban, whatever it is, or more, that's telling you Lo Yekayem. And he says this is why there's an order, because there's actually 4 things that are stated in this mitzvah of the second commandment. There's actually 4 different commands that are part of the second commandment. It says, Lo yeh lecha, and it says, Lo ta'aseh lecha pesel kol tmuna, don't create one. So lo yeh makes sense in this way because it's don't keep the old one, don't make a new one, don't serve any of them. Lo tavdeim, v'lo tishtachaveh lahem, don't bow down. 4 different things that the Torah mentions. Right? And he says, what does it mean, first of all, Elohim acherim? What does that mean, that term? What does that mean? It means there's 2 different aspects to what it means. One aspect is, like Rashi mentions, acherim le'ovdeihem, that they are other to you. You cry out to them and they don't really care about it. They're other to you, right? And the other meaning is Elohim acherim, Elohim, gods that were created by others. They're created by others. And these are interlinked, right? Ein behem Elohut be'atzman, rak ma shebnei adam osim oto Elohut. Shedavar ze chutz ve'acher laseichel, ki Elohut shelehem mitzad hazulat, lo mitzad atzmam. V'zeh pirush Elohim acherim, shevadai hem acherim, ki Elohut elu acherim asu atam, ve'ein ze ra'ui le'Elohut. They're surely other to those who serve them because they are made by others. They don't have their own essential existence. And this is why it says, Lo yelecha Elohim acherim al panai, upon my face or before my face. Why is it mentioned panim? He says, Etzem kol v'chach nikra etzem kol davar panim. Everything is the essence of a thing is its inner dimension. It's like panim. Panim is a very interesting word, as it means the outside, like means the face. Like in English we say like superficial, like it's only face, but only on the outside. But the word panim means inside, pnimiyut, right? And it's very fascinating that also, he doesn't mention this here, but something I've thought about a lot over the years, that panim is plural. Very interesting thing. That you're looking at someone's face, you're really looking at their faces, because there's depths upon depths of like who this person is. Like I once heard that there are like mamish dozens of muscles in your face. Hashem made the face. You're able to like connote to like give over so many different. It's amazing. So many, each wrinkle, each little thing you can tell is the person really mean it. He doesn't mean it. He's half joking. He's a quarter joking. It's like it's a mamish, an amazing thing. The eyebrow, the arching the eyebrow, the furrowing of the brow, then the flaring of the nostril. It's mamish unbelievable how many tiny. See, and we notice these things. It's gewaldig. Panim. We're always like faces relating to each other with such. It's amazing, right? So Hashem is saying, "Lo yelech Elohim acharim al panai," means don't let anything come between my face. Ki ein lavod rak le'etzem atzmo legamrei v'lo l'shum emtza'i ba'olam. Don't let, and this is where things get complicated. You know, the Navi Hosea, Rashi says in his parish to the Navi Hosea that, I forgot which chapter, forgive me, he says that the prophets of Avodah Zarah, the idol worship prophets in the time of when the Jews were split into two nations, and there was Israel and Yehuda, and it was a very difficult time, you know, built an idol in the city of Shiloh. You know why? Because the Mishkan once stood there, right? What a crazy, you know. So it's a spiritual spot. They're using the fact there was like an imprint and a memory of Hashem's presence there to make an idol worship there. This is something that is like really, really deep. That it's possible, and this is something we have to think about nowadays. You know, we're learning this maharal, we're learning this mitzvah. Don't have any other gods. Okay, how real is that? Like, I'm gonna like, we'd have to look. You have to like look up on Google to find even the name of another god. Like, what is that? You know, how real is Avodah Zarah to us today? But what can be real about it is worshiping an aspect of true spirituality. This is this thing of an emtsa'i, of an in between that maharal is mentioning. Remember, I have a face. Hashem is saying, even though there, and this is my, I'm not sure how much. I hope this is me a little bit reading into. I'm not sure how much is exactly. I hope I'm being true to what he's saying. I think I am. That don't serve an intermediary means I have all these different expressions, and you can experience. You know, by when Hashem said Anochi, the Midrash Rabbah in Parshas Yisro says, I am Lord your God. Right before Hashem said Anochi, he sent out 22,000 angels. And the Midrash says each one had God's name in it. Like the fire of God, the water of God, the wind of God, all these different things, 22,000. But then Hashem says, but Anochi. But don't get thrown off by the expressions which all have a divine aspect to them, right? See me, worship me underneath all of this, right? This is what we want from our friends, our spouses, our real relationships. We don't want anyone to get stuck just in one way of how I am. We want the real me, which can't be pinned down by any one expression. That's underneath all the faces. There is a face that can't, that's the real me, the Anochi. Lo yelech Elohim acharim al panai. Don't let any of these other things. This is the thing for us also. You can have one Shabbos that's a Geval, and then you keep trying to make your other Shabbases the same as that Shabbos. But it's so we have to have each thing we do be a new encounter, be real, not to make an idol even out of our own actual Orthodox Jewish spirituality. Yeah, don't make an idol out of it. The Zohar Kodesh says that. Right? Psol lecha. Be careful that the Torah itself shouldn't become a pesel. Make sure, don't let the Torah itself turn into, don't let it be too static. Don't worship any in between. Because this is the issue of Avodah Zarah, that there really are all these spiritual forces that do come from Hashem. And it's easy to use one of them. The Ishbitzer Rebbe is very big on this. He says, why is it strange to do Elohim achirim la'ovdim? It's a stranger to the ones who serve them. It is because what I'm trying to do is reliable, sane, spiritual feeling each time. That's what Avodah Zarah is all about. And in the days when Avodah Zarah was really active, that the sages tell us in the Masechet Yuma, that davened away, in the times of the Second Temple, they davened away this inclination. But the desire for Avodah Zarah, they say, was so great, it was like as much as the libido. It was like a very strong, there was like something like in it, we really wanted it. You could get this high. I forgot who it was, but there's one big Litvish Yeshiva said, one little bend of your knee to an idol back in those days would give you a rush, a feeling like greater than the Ila Yom Kippur. And be like, wow, and you get it every time, The only thing is, it's not a relationship. It's just a Coke machine. You put in the thing and you get it. Yeah.
We can't, I guess, relate to that aspect of the design. What does that mean? It would actually, something would happen.
Yeah. Yeah, the Vilna Gaon, in other words, draws attention to this, that the same time that they prayed away our ability to experience Avodah Zarah, we also lost our ability to have prophecy. So there was, it's almost like a deadening of a whole like spiritual nerve within us. Very, very, very wild thing. There was like a change in humanity. And by the way, this not only for the Jews, there was a thing in history that the center of society moved from the temple to the house of study, to the university. Around the time of the Greeks, things changed. They still had temples, but the temples became more of a sort of a museum-like thing, less of a real central place. And within us also, the Beit Midrash, we have Mikdash Ma'at, we daven and everything, but something profound in the human experience got lost. Very interesting thing. But for today, in other words, for how we could relate to it today, is I think is within our spirituality that we still do have, at least Baruch Hashem, we still have it, can still daven, can still experience something in our faith and in our prayer, in our learning, in our togetherness, in our holidays, the thing is not to take one face and make that the thing and keep trying to recreate and not to also box people in and force people into certain image, right? I remember when Rav Chaim Kramer, one of the great Breslov writers of today, he said to me, I was talking to him about Streimel and different religious fashion, and he said, he looked at me and he says, because he told me he has a brother-in-law, or no, it's a brother-in-law, I forgot who it was. He said there was someone that he saw who the moment they put on the Streimel, they just weren't the same person anymore. They felt more important. They got a certain role of like being the head of a school or something like this. And he said, he looked me in the eye and says, be careful. The Torah says don't worship an image. Right? That really struck me, And Rav Chaim Kramer never put on a Streimel. He grew up in Brooklyn. He wears a regular down hat and like a short jacket and doesn't look so Hasidish at all. But he's just being himself. So you have to be careful not to worship an image. So now he's going to take it deeper now. When he says, the way we relate to Avodah Zarah or to this kind of a thing of worshiping something that's static is in 4 ways. And that's what these 4 mitzvahs that are the components of Lo Yelecha are divided into. There's 4 aspects. The first thing is 4 aspects in the mind of how we relate to idol worship. One is that I come to the conclusion, Ra'ui la'avod avodah zarah. It makes sense that this is the right thing to do, right? The first thing is, I feel like it's the right thing to do. The second thing is, I'm going to serve it out of love. I love this feeling, this thing, this idol of some kind, right? It's one thing that people have, I mean, is also in terms of how we relate to who we perceive as being examples for us in society. I idolize this person, or I idolize that kind of living, that lifestyle, or whatever it is, right? And we kind of fashion ourselves after them and like realize that we start kind of walking a certain way, talking a certain way, that it gets into us. So the first thing is to think, yeah, that's what I should lock into, right? And the second thing is, I love it. I'm serving it out of love. And the third thing is, I have fear of it. I have fear of it. I'm like awed by it. I'm like, whoa, And the fourth thing is, I'm serving it to get something out. If I do this, I'll be famous. I'll get lots of likes on Facebook, whatever it is. If I do this, it's going to be, wow, So those are four aspects. And he says the mitzvah of lo yeh, the mitzvah within the second commandment is exactly against all of those four things. Don't have other gods before me means don't, and here he gets pretty close to what the Ramban says, don't think that there is anything else that makes sense to serve, right? Don't let that come into your mind. There should not be any other gods before me. Al panai, like we said, by the depths of who God really is. And secondly, against love, he says, Lo taseh lecha pesel, don't create any graven image, because that's the way of one who loves something, is they carry around an image of them all the time, right? We carry around images, whether it's in our mind, whether it's a poster, whether it's a screensaver, or whatever it is, we carry around images of the thing because we love that thing, right? So don't be carrying around, don't create an image. That's against serving it out of love. Don't bow down to it. That's out of fear. That's what we bow down to is something we're in awe of. And the fourth one, it says, don't serve, lo ta'avdeim. That's against serving so that I'll get a prize from the service. Don't put yourself into serving that thing, trying to get something out, right? Then he says that there's another wondrous thing. Oh, yes, binyan zeh davar nifla. Sorry about that. Maybe if you don't mind. Thank you so much. I have a little drinking problem. He says, it's a wondrous thing. Really, Hashem, everything comes from Hashem. And the avodah zara is that which is chitzon. Hashem is the essence. Hashem is the panim. Hashem is the pnimiyut. And then all idol worship is the outside, is the chitzoniyut. And davar shu chutz v'chitzon hem arba. That which is on the outside is dafka 4. That's why there are 4 mitzvahs in this mitzvah, because 4, if you have somebody in the middle, so there's 4 people standing around on the outside that represent the 4 directions, the 4 ways that you could be chitzon, outside of the thing. Lefichach hachitzon, right? Shekasher echad omed yomar lashon chitzon al arba'at tzadim shelo. Lefichach hachitzoniyot hem arba. Ucheneged elu ba'u edal lavim elu. And that's what these 4 lotases are going on. And he says here an amazing deep thing. V'da ki hachitzonius harishon. Here it really shows you how this issue of not serving idols really goes deep into even real experiences of the divine itself, as he says. Da ki chitzonius harishon hem dal, the first chitzonius, the first original kind of outsideness to God, hem dalid chayos hamerkava, are the 4 animals of the chariot. One of the most fantastic chapters in Tanakh is the first chapter of Yechezkel. The chariot, the Merkava of Yechezkel, which we read on Shavuos morning, because Klal Yisrael, when the heavens opened up, we perceived this. We perceived Hashem, so to speak, in the middle, and the angels encamped in 4 encampments around, beginning with these 4 animals that are on four sides, 4 images. I would say one of them is human, on 4 sides of, so to speak, the divine. And again, when we say sides, we don't mean spatially, we mean conceptually, we mean spiritually. As we'll see in a minute, it's Chesed and Gevurah and Tiferet and Malchus. That these there's a 4-ness to the outsideness of Hashem, and after that, Hashem gave us a mitzvah to encamp around the Mishkan, also in groups of 3 tribes. 3, 3, 3, and 3 is the 12 tribes, right? And Hashem says, you're jealous of the angels. And why were we jealous? And this relates back to the advice thing we were learning about before. We were jealous because the angels knew, each one knew exactly their perspective, exactly their angle on Hashem. And we said, I wish I also had that. I wish I knew what my angle is. And so the tribes got that. And each family within tribe, and each individual within it, it's an amazing thing. The way we encamped, and it's meant to be this way. It's good for it to be this way, but it can also open up potential for idol worship, where you think, the way that tribe does it, that's the way. And then you try to copy each other and turning into, you idolize. And we lose the depths of the infiniteness of our own angle, of our own, who we really are, which is not a limiting thing. It's a growth, it's a deep thing. Reb Shlomo brought down. I heard him tell the story like he was. You might have heard this one. He was a elementary school teacher way back in Montreal, and he had a particularly unruly class, a very difficult class. And they were supposed to all create for a science fair, like a Torah fair, where you create some kind of a, like a booth that shows some kind of thing. The classes were making all these amazing contraptions and whatever they were. And they came to the actual day they were supposed to present something, and their class had nothing. And someone's like, okay, we're gonna make a model of the Mishkan. We're just gonna have a white piece of cardboard or whatever it's called, Bristol board, and then we'll make a little thing of the Mishkan. It'll be a little cylinder, and then just crumple up little pieces of paper and put them around the Mishkan with according the number of people that they were. Like each crumpled up paper is 10,000 people, 100,000 people, whatever it is. And we'll crumple it, and there'll be all these little tents. We'll put some glue and sprinkle some sand on the thing, and that'll be it, right? It'll just be like this white cylinder of the Mishkan, and this image of the tents around it. And he said, and Reb Shlomo was so blown away. He said, everyone who came and saw this their eyes would lock onto it, and they couldn't tear their eyes away. People were just crowding around this thing, staring at it. It was as if it had awakened some ancient tribal memory. And mamish, they won the first prize. This simple thing, because it was made to scale and was really what it looked like in some kind of a way, it approximated it. Everyone felt like, whoa, I was there once. Mamish, it's unbelievable, right? Yeah, this is so this 4-ness to the outsideness of the Mishkan is real. It's deep and it's good. It's not bad. It can also be things of avodah zarah. This is the moment you have anything outside of Hashem, so to speak, any chitzoniyut, any particular expression, even the 12 tribes of Am Yisrael, even the very chariot of Hashem himself, so to speak, there could be a potential danger. It says, the beginning of outwardness, of outsideness, is from Hashem's throne and below, which is where this chariot is. These 4 holy animals. When Am Yisrael made this why did they make the golden calf? So this is something the maharal brings, the Ben Bechaya brings, I think even Rashi brings, because they had seen the shore, the face of the, and he's going to go through the four faces soon, the ox on the Merkava, and they were trying to kind of make the ox into a god for them. And so they made a calf that would be kind of, in some way, I don't know why, spiritually it had to be a calf instead of a full-grown ox, but this was their way of connecting. They wanted to serve, because why? Because all of the Farshim, the maharal, Reb Bechaya, and others, Zeh ha'ish Moshe lo noda mahayalo. We don't know what happened to Moshe. It was not a replacement for God, so to speak. It was a replacement for Moshe. Moshe's up and he didn't come down. We need something else to channel our relationship with Hashem. Let's choose the ox. The ox is a tough, strong animal, and we'll have we'll relate back. And this is like really heavy stuff. It's hard for us to even imagine this thing. That they had seen this ox. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm using words, but they had an experience of an outsideness of Hashem, and they wanted, basically, and this we could relate to, they wanted some reliable sense of spiritual connectivity. We asked Moshe, let's use the ox. Let's get in through that kind of heavenly bureaucracy, and this we could kind of force a connection. Instead of the connection through true leadership, human leadership, which preserves a depth of real relationship and doesn't turn the whole thing into an automatic push-button spirituality that's just put, like Reb Shlomo said, God is not a Coke machine. Put the quarter in, you get your Coke. That's really a worshiping that is actually outside. When you're getting something every time reliably, it means there's not a real relationship. When there's a real relationship, there's ups and downs. There's where are you at? There's growth. There's right. It says this is what these four commandments are about. Lo yelecha achim al panai, lo yelecha achim al panai, should not have any other gods before me. This is connected to the human face that was on the chariot. Lo yelecha loha pnei adam al panai. Don't let your human understanding or some human thing that you're idolizing, don't let that be. Remember me, remember God, right? And Keneged, the lion, which is to the right side, representing love, right? Don't let yourself, he says, don't create an image, which is to create images of the things you love. I want to look at it again and again. That's connected to the lion on the right side. And the chitzoniut of the shore, which is gevura, the power of the ox. The gevura is the left side, says, don't bow down. Self get run into a false fear, into a false sense of awe, of worship, of bowing down to something you shouldn't be bowing down to. And Keneged, the don't serve, don't try and get out of it something that you think that by being quick and light as an eagle, you'll be able to get out of it. Understand these things well. You can also understand why the first one is lo yiyeh lecha. It should not be for you. Being is relating to that human face. Shouldn't be for you anything else, only me in your service, in your idolizing. And the other one is should not make lo taseh lecha peso. Don't make. Making is something you do out of love. You create this image to keep seeing. And the third one is don't bow down, the verb, which is relating to awe, a sense of awe and beyondness. And the fourth one, don't serve. This is something we keep coming back to again and again, that I keep coming back to anyway, again and again, is that the Torah, you have these two tablets, right? And we learned about them. There were different opinions how they were written, etc. But the simple opinion is there were 5 and 5. One is Bein Adam Lamakom, between humanity and Hashem, and Bein Adam Lechavero, between people. But what is similar between the both of them is Bein. The whole Torah is about authentic relationships, authentic, real, good relationships. Without that, we've got almost basically nothing. When we have real, authentic relationships, then we're really alive. You can really have a sense you're doing what you need to be doing. And your Torah is so much realer, and your mitzvahs are so much realer. And the danger of lo yelech Elohim achirim al panai, there's this fourfold danger of allowing something into your mind. Oh, this is what I should serve. This thing makes sense to serve. This is some human face. If it's a human face of understanding, or literally a human face that you're idolizing, or some lifestyle that you're idolizing. And don't let yourself copy something again and again and again and keep on idolizing this thing, loving this thing. Don't fall into that. Don't let yourself be serving and in awe of anything outside of Hashem. This is something that, the ox, this is something that, it's very, very good to be busy and to have a job and be busy with Torah and be busy doing things, be putting yourself like an ox to the grindstone to do your thing. But it's possible to get too awed by that, to be worshiping the work. It's possible for that to happen. Be careful of that. Be careful of that. Don't worship the ox. This is what Am Yisrael, this is where the golden calf came from. Don't worship the ox. And then don't think that there's some way I can get something out of serving some other ideal, some other idol. It's not going to have the same, when you daven for something. The Mishnah Berurah says that if you wash the Tilas Yadayim, then you're not supposed to talk till you make hamotzi, right? But the Mishnah Berurah says, based on the Zohar, if you didn't daven for food that day, then you're allowed to say the whole Psalms 23, the whole Mizmor LeDavid Hashem Lo, in order to daven, even though the food is sitting on your table. But the way you're going to receive it is different, right? We're working for a prize. There's so many people out there working the system to get their prize. Lo tav daim, right? They're working some system and they're serving it because they'll get something out of it. But then when they get it, it doesn't really satiate them. Then they have the mansion and the yacht and whatever it is, and all the power and all the likes of Facebook and everything that. But it still doesn't. I'm still so empty, right? It's so much better when you get even one little thing, but it's really from God. And it's like just one little drop of, but it's everything. When you daven for your food, you receive it different. The Zohar says if you don't daven for your food, then when you eat, it's like an animal eating, that you're just eating in a totally outside kind of way.
So it is all coming from God. They need them with God.
Indeed.
Hashem wants each other. And if he doesn't want it, so
indeed, everything is coming from God. But there's something called achor ba'achor and panim b'panim. How am I receiving it? Am I receiving it face to face, or am I receiving it back to back? Am I, my parents still going to give me food, but how much deeper is it when I say thank you, right? How much better is it?
You should be decent, but if you're still getting it, it's your choice then how they react to it.
Yeah.
It's not maybe you're completely different. I mean, you can daven for it, but still, you're going to get it or you're not, based on what Hashem wants.
Right. So one way to think of this is like this. There needs to be room in our hearts to receive from Hashem. You could be receiving, you could be eating a sandwich. And it's the same molecules, it's the same, as if I davened for it or didn't daven for it. But my heart still feels deep down that, how much does Hashem really care for me? Okay, I have a sandwich, but that, He made me and he's keeping me going. So who says there's something really special about this experience of eating this sandwich? But if I really asked Hashem to really nourish me, what I'm doing is, and you're right, Hashem's doing the same thing. He's giving it to me with the same love, whether I daven or don't. But am I gonna have room in my heart to receive it? Davening opens up room in your heart. It opens up a vessel in your heart.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So there's different ways of receiving. I can be receiving it just on the outside. It's the same idea. These four aspects of the outside. Right. You're right. The way you receive it is going to be. That's the thing. Lo machrim al panai. In face to face as much as we can, and try to grow into that. B'ezrat Hashem. So we saw these four aspects, these four mitzvahs. Try to be pnimi. This is just related back to Rav Nosson again for a second. This is Rav Nosson's teaching us from Mordechai. Has everything all set up, the whole Purim story, and we're going to be able to see how all the details connect. But if we don't really cry out, if we don't really do the zakat dola umara, then we may never see it. So this is the great strengthening to really go for it and to really have the strength to approach and to really pray, to really daven. Garman Indian is feeler Rav Nosson explained us how to do it, how it is. To take advantage of the lives that we have right now in the body, to being able to grow in ways that you can't grow in heaven, only here. Really use these lives that we have. Thank you all so much for coming. So I have to mamish run. I got to get to Rishon for the ceiling in the car. So mamish, thank you.